Beautiful St. Moritz in the Engadine Valley, high in the Swiss Alps. We're 1,750 meters above sea level. The venue for round 5 of the FIBT Wiesmann Women's Skeleton World Cup, the world's oldest, fastest and most prestigious and most famous ice track here on the hill between the village of St. Moritz and the tiny town of Celerina. Into the first of our 2 heats, combining 23 athletes with one of the most legendary tracks. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me is Ben Sanford, a medalist on this track. Ben, it is the mecca for ice sliders, but what's the big challenge about St. Moritz?
The big challenge here in St. Moritz is it's such a long track. It's the only natural track in the world, and you have to be so smooth. Fast at the start. The start this year is really short, so explosive off the block. It's so important at the top of the track here to be smooth and clean and not touch any of the walls. Around the first kink is difficult to get the line down into the second kink. You just want to relax here, really like breathe into the sled, be nice and quiet. Wall here is a long 3-pressure corner. Cut the end off wall, get a nice smooth line into snake, roll through the snake corners. And it's just so important in St. Moritz to do your steering in the corners and allow the sled to run in the straights. Nash Dixon here is going to set you up for horseshoe. And you'll see today the athlete's getting a lot of height here in horseshoe, close to the roof. So important to get the exit of horseshoe, get through telephone cleanly. Line it up here, going into Devil's Dyke. Long left-hand corner, Devil's Dyke. And you'll build speed as you go down the track, and you'll pick up time. And it's having a clean top of the track is going to allow you to be faster in the bottom of the track. And here you have the right-hand combination in the bottom of the track, and you come out of Gunter Sachs, 137 kilometers an hour, and you're just racing. It feels incredible. All you see is white, and the sled is just humming.
Such a different sound as well. You're not suspended in a concrete channel. It's built onto the mountain. You tend not to vibrate the Swiss Alps quite as much as you do a hollow channel. So very often just the sound of the runners rattling and the wind whistling past your helmet. It's a unique sliding experience down through the trees. Tina Herman of Germany ahead of teammate Sophia Griebel leading the World Cup standings. Janine Flock lies 3rd, breaking up the American domination. And the reason is that Olympic champion Lizzie Arnold, winner of 2 races this year, missed out in Calgary and is slowly climbing back up the World Cup standings. Well, Lizzie won the season opener in Lake Placid and last week in Koenigsee, Bavaria, and this is one of her favourite tracks. But we've had 3 different winners in 4 races this season, and a whole new host of names to contend with came up in our training. Marina Giardoni, the local girl, may well damage the start record here, and she had some really good slides. Elizabeth Varche's a race winner, Maria Oliver as well. Who else was quick? Rose McGrandle was quick for Great Britain. And we had some interesting names as well. Maria Mazalou of Romania, the last starter, she was very quick as well. So we could have some new names challenging, certainly for top 10, possibly for top 6 positions as well. Greatest track on the planet in the eyes of almost every ice slider. St. Moritz in Switzerland. Marina Giardoni, the local girl, gets this 5th race of the Wiesmann FIBT Women's Skeleton World Cup underway. Martin Haven and Ben Sanford watching her. Very fast starts in practice. Track record 5:36. And she's set a new record.
So fast at the start, so powerful and strong, and so quick over those 30 meters.
She carries such momentum as well. Junior world champion bobsled brakewoman. That's where her power and her speed come from.
Nice line out of wall, rolling through the snake corners and setting up for Sunny. Sunny is such a nice corner to slide. Feels so good. The pressure comes on so smoothly and so evenly.
Little scratchy at the top of the track. You hear so much of what the slider is doing. Down into horseshoe. And hits the wall in telephone.
Too long on horseshoe, and that just pushed her across into telephone. And it really hurts when you hit the walls here.
Going so fast as well. The average speed is much higher than other tracks. Down at the bottom, the women will be doing 133, 34 kilometers an hour, maybe up to 135, 129.6 for her. That's still 80 miles an hour. 111.82.
Mickey, the coach, doesn't look too happy there. And
no, Nor Marina holds her head in her hand. Everybody's looking for height in that big horseshoe corner, but you've got to control it on the exit.
yeah, you do. You really need to get it out of there in time, and she's just too high, too late in the corner. Close to the roof here, but the height just carries around too far. She stares down too late here, and it's just going to throw her across into that left-hand wall, and that's a nasty hit. There's no time to adjust then before you get into telephone. It hurts, and it slows you down a lot.
The body in brace position there for the impact. She knew it was coming from the moment she came down. Second of our starters, Maria Oliver of Russia. Winner in Altenburg in Germany, her first ever World Cup race gold medal.
Maria really having quite a good season this year.
The one thing that's plagued Maria over the last few seasons has been consistency, and this year the penny's really dropped. She's putting in good run after good run.
Yeah, you're exactly right. She's often been in the top 5 after the first run, but then dropped down after the second heat, and this year she's just getting it right run after run, and that's really paying in her results. Just working there, you can see the leg come out to the side, working a little bit too much between Wall and Sunny.
The sun is on the sunny corner.
Quite late here into Nash and Dixon.
I wonder why corners in again after 2 quarters, gentlemen. They were members of the Moritz Bob Club who won the 2-man bobsleigh gold in Eagles in 1964.
Maria also struggling with the Exeter horseshoe, just again too high, too late in the corner.
Slender lead, 200ths of a second in front of Marina Giardoni. And on these 2 first runs, I'm not sure we'll see either of these girls on the podium. Good speed at the bottom, 130.1. 110 slide, no, still in the 111s, 111.67. You're going to need 110s to be in the medals here, though.
Willie Schneider, the coach, world champion here, I think in 1991 or 3.
That's a century ago, right?
Yeah, it's quite a while ago.
Yeah. And is this the track that everybody comes back to and is suddenly itching to slide again?
It really depends how much you like this track and what sort of results you're having. If you're hitting walls like you see Maria here coming out of horseshoe, it's not fun. Like, these walls are sharp and nasty, and you know how good this track can feel, and when it's not quite there for you, it's frustrating and really annoying.
Third of our starters, Laura Deas, fastest in both runs in training yesterday through the snow. She's had a really good week practicing here in St. Moritz. Start and track records incidentally set last week in the Europa Cup race. And both could again come under threat here.
I'm really excited to see Laura slide here. Really fast in training.
Little toe drag to get the line right into the first corner, 5:18. Well, that's way inside the old track record, but not quite as quick as Marina Giardoni's 5:13.
She's looking really good here, really relaxed down the middle of the track. Just allowing the sled to do the work, allowing it to run, build up that momentum.
Silver medalist in Calgary in Canada, the second race weekend of the season.
Nice line out of Sunny into the Nash-Dixon combination. Just using her toe a little bit to get the right line.
That was the chin of the helmet on the ice, wasn't it? That wasn't
sure
toes. 97.3, 4 kilometers an hour quicker than anyone we've seen so far.
She's going to pick up a lot of time through the bottom of the track if she does this well.
Okay, now here we go. Now this is a top-looking slide. Speeds at the bottom should be 133, 34 maybe. 132.2. And again, still dragging the toe to get the line right. New track record, 110.45. It took almost the entire men's competition to beat the men's track record set by Jack Thomas last weekend in the Europa Cup races. Only Martin Stuckel's final winning run was inside that mark, but Laura Deas blows the track record set by Jacqueline Lerling of Germany on her way to victory in a women's race out of the water here.
Nice line through horseshoe. See her staring down here, getting that line out. Means that she's not on the corner too long and she won't hit that wall before telephone.
Andy Schmidt and a couple of British development athletes watching Laura Deas, who was in that position last year down there at horseshoe. Next up, Janine Flock of Austria, third in the World Cup rankings. And if last year was her standout season as the European champion, this year she's really carried that momentum on. She's not having a post-Olympic slump in any way.
Just using her toe there as she came out of the groove to get that first kink right. Really important to get that first kink, and that'll set you up going downhill into the second kink. And line you up.
Apart from anything else, if you get the first corner wrong, you've got another minute and 10 seconds cursing yourself all the way down the track.
And it's so frustrating at the top of the track when you aren't getting it right, because you're going so slow, you have so little control on the sled. You steer, and then there's a delay between when you steer and when the sled actually reacts. And so if it's going wrong, you see athletes just getting it really wrong, and it's just miserable to watch.
Through Nash and Dixon. And after the flurry of activity that is Altenburg and Koenigsee, the way these corners are so much more relaxed and come at you much more gradually must be quite a different sensation.
It is. You have a lot of time between the corners here. So it's really important to steer in the corner and just let the sled run, let the sled fly between the corners.
Only fourth at the start, but Janine, second place, closing a little. 700s behind, really good speed, 133.7, could take the lead away from Laura Deas. Gonna be close, she does. 5 minutes in front. Well, training threw up different fastest slides from athletes all over the place during the week. If you were a gambling man, you'd move straight past women's skeleton and try and put your money on something that's a little more secure, I think.
Yeah, this race is really open today. Any number of 6 or 7 girls could be on the podium. It's a really good run from Janine. Nice line coming out of Nash Dixon. Takes the late line into Horseshoe, gets that height.
So the 27-year-old from Innsbruck is our race leader. Next up is the woman who lies second in the World Cup standings, Sophia Griebel. She and fellow rookie Tina Herman really flying the flag for German women's skeleton. Griebel just 24 years old.
Just moving around a little bit on the sled there, head going from side to side, just trying to keep the sled in the middle of the track.
Whiskers slower than Janine Flock.
Hallo Janine
start.
Flock,
You can hear the track announcer telling the athletes their times at the bottom, and Ben, you can hear that while you're sliding.
You don't want to. You really need to be in the zone when you're sliding, and there should be no outside noise, but I have had the experience, like when you load onto the sled, you can sometimes hear the announcer here in St. Moritz, and if you're training, you can actually listen to hear what your start time was. Not in the race.
Does love to be able to welcome every athlete to the track in their own language. Another part of that equation that makes St. Moritz so unique is just hearing his voice every year. All these athletes will have heard it on TV, and then to have their own name called out. Very special feeling. 131.3, not such great speed down the bottom. She was on target with Janine Flock at the start. Third place run from Sophia Griebel. About 3/4 of a second away from the leader. Got to think that's going to rule her out of medal contention here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this race develops and what times the athletes can put down. Using the foot there and the knee just to turn the sled and get it out of Horseshoe corner. Lifts the head on the exit to make sure that she has the right line.
Janine Flock of Austria leads by 0.05 of a second from Great Britain's Laura Deas. Anja Huber-Selbach of Germany lies fourth in the World Cup rankings this season, former world champion in women's skeleton, and on the podium last weekend, her final ever race on her home ice in Koenigsee. Ben Sanford, a very emotional moment to get on the podium after actually probably almost a couple of years away, but secondly, indication that we hadn't had before that this is her final year of sliding. So how much more emotional will St. Moritz be for her then? The last time ever at this great place.
Yeah, it's always a sad moment in your career when you come to St. Moritz for the last time. Anya's had a fantastic career, been a fantastic athlete. Enormous results, Olympic medal.
And that little bit of extra confidence from being on the podium last week, that might help her to push on through the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So much about doing well in skeleton, and any sport is about confidence. If you're confident and you know that you can be on the podium, then you're likely to be on the podium. Looking smooth through the top of the track. Using the toe to get out of horseshoe and avoid that hit before telephone.
And let's see what she can produce in speed. 96.4 to Laura Deas and Janine Flock's 97.2. Drifting away in third place now behind the lead duo.
Just building that speed through the bottom part of the track.
It's 132s, 132.6. Second fastest to Janine Flock, so she's going to close the gap at the bottom. And half a second back. If you're a gambling man, is she going to get on the podium from there?
Honestly, it's really difficult to say at the moment. We just haven't had enough sliders down the track. It's hard to know how this race is going to turn out.
Well, Anja Huber-Selbach in third place at the moment. Better of the two Germans who have come down.
Nice line and horseshoe, but working quite hard to get the exit right. Using the toe to drag the sled down and get off the corner.
Always looks like she's using her head to steer up there, but in fact she's got a helmet so sideways. She's always has a helmet sideways to avoid the chin on the ice. Germany's Tina Herman, our World Cup points leader. Having a season that she can't possibly have imagined would have worked out this way as a World Cup rookie. The yellow vest, that's quite something special.
A little bit of a touch there in the straight and moving a lot on the sled here. You really want to be still, but she's moving around a little bit as she goes into wall corner.
Seventh place at the start, but only 700ths behind Janine Flock, the race leader. Oh, quarter of a second back.
Tina's a really good slider, so if she's going to pick up time and speed, it's going to be at the bottom of the track where she's going to make the big gains.
Nice exit, 98.4, fastest speeds we've seen. Now let's see the gap come down. It was out to 2600s, down to 1200s. She's got to stay off the walls though, Ben.
She sure does, and she needs to get these right-hand corners right here. Nice line coming out of Gunther Saxon into Martineau.
Top speed, way faster than anybody apart from Janine Flock. So how close to the leader? 400s cover, 500s cover the top three. She's 400s behind the leader in second place. And now things are starting to look very interesting.
I was talking to Dirk Matchens, the German coach you saw there shaking his head, and one of the things he's really trying to concentrate on this year is getting the athletes to do 2 good runs during the race. He's not so worried. Obviously, he's worried about the results, but more importantly, he wants them to be putting down 2 good runs. And I think one of the reasons why he's shaking the head is you see her in the top of the track here, and she's just moving around a little bit too much. Left to right, left to right, left to right.
Really dancing away. But if she hadn't made any of those movements, would that actually have made much of a difference to the sled?
Well, it's always hard to know.
Till you don't move and then it skids all over the place. Next up, Rose McGrandle of Great Britain, again in the top 3 in training. 27-year-old Rose. She'll be looking for another fast start.
Rose is another athlete who's having a good season. She's a good slider.
Well, our race leader started 5:31, Janine Flock of Austria. Look at the eyes. The sled follows the eyes, they always say.
Yeah, focusing there on the next corner, looking to where she wants to go. Around sunny corner. It's not so sunny in sunny corner today. A few clouds in the sky.
A little bit of sun through the dapple trees. 3800s, 1500s back rather. See what the speed she's got. She needs 98s. 95.9 is not good.
Bit of a touch on the exit of horseshoe and then flopping off telephone a little bit. And that's going to cost her through this part of the track.
She really struggled to get back in contention with the leaders. half a second back. It's high 133s, way off the pace there, and you can hear why. Well, 5th place, but 3/4 of a second back. Disappointing slide for Rose McGrandle, tied with Sophia Griebel.
Rose just hasn't really been gelling with the St. Moritz track this week. Hasn't been consistent in training and just struggling to find that line where you can just sort of touch the sled in the corner. She's just having to work a little bit too hard sometimes. Coming out of Horseshoe and just too long on the corner and just hitting the entrance and the wall on the beginning of Telephone.
There's your race leader, Janine Flock, on the open truck going back to the top of the hill. It's all glamour here, you know. Richard Bromley with Elizabeth Varche. Elizabeth Varche, race winner in Calgary, silver medalist in Lake Placid. And went to Altenburg with a yellow vest on her shoulders. She's travelled Europe before, so she has been here to St. Moritz. 5:25, that's a very strong start again from this young Canadian.
Hello, Rose. Rose McGrandle, your time 5:31, 1:11.16.
Really having a good season this year. A couple of fantastic results. Really showing what a good slider she is.
Elizabeth Waitley's on the track.
World Cup rookie, being on the podium in your first year is kind of your wildest dreams. Never mind winning your second ever World Cup race and at home in Canada with the whole family, friends, you know, half the neighbourhood to watch.
Yeah, really a dream start to your World Cup career. Nice lines, nice exit of Horseshoe.
Still in with the leaders. Janine Flock, Tina Herman, Laura Deas in the top 3, and she is right with them.
It's going to be really close down the bottom here.
And so quiet, so few little scratchy noises coming from her.
Yeah, this is a good run. Looking relaxed on the sled.
Now she needs speed here. She's got speed here. 133.4. Could this be top 3? And to challenge Laura Deas for 3rd place. 4th at the line. 1300s covers the top 4. Bromley supported athlete. Self-funded. Her family have found the money to put her in the World Cup on the trail and to pay for the coaching and the sled. That's a really nice, tidy run.
Nice line through Horseshoe. She gets to the height and she turns the sled as well to get that exit.
Top speed there, still from Germany's Tina Herman. Herman lying in 2nd place. Varche coming home 1300s behind the leaders. Good first run, and anything could happen in the 2nd heat. Next up is our Olympic champion, Lizzie Arnold. So Lizzie, originally from Sevenoaks in Kent. 2 wins so far this season, Lake Placid and Koenigsee. 5:31, ties Rose McGrandle, ties race leader Janine Flock. And Ben, if she's not in the frame here, that would be a big surprise.
It really would be. She's so well suited to this track, so relaxed on the sled. She's been fast in training.
Well, like Martins Ducros of Latvia, she has this style that looks like all she does is lie on the sled and wait for it all to finish. And that means she's getting all the steers right onto the corner and she doesn't have to work through it or off it. Little to the left into the shoe and hits the wall.
That's not going to help her in the next section of the track. A little bit too early there onto Devil's Dyke as well, just having to readjust.
Curse the commentator, track so different from yesterday's ice and any other day in the week. 1/4 second back in 5th place. What speed can she find? 133's not quite. She'll be top half dozen. 5th place, 4 tenths away from the lead. And that's 3 tenths away and more, I think, than she'd like to have been.
Yeah, Lizzie won't be too happy with that run. The mistake in Horseshoe has really cost her down the bottom of the track.
It kind of started out of Nash and Dixon. She was a little left, and then late on means late off, Ben.
Yeah, it looks like she steered a little bit too early than horseshoe corner, and it's just pushed the pressure a little bit too far, and that's thrown her into that left-hand wall, and it's really hard to recover from that as you go around telephone. You really have to work hard in telephone to get it back on the line that you want.
Happy birthday, Charlie.
Still smiling though.
Yep, everybody back home will be watching. So 10 sleds down of our 23, and it is Janine Flocker-Voscher, the European champion, who leads from Tina Herman and Laura Deas. Well, we've got a few other names in the order to look at. Lynette Prediger, who comes up next for Canada. She had some really fast runs in training. Her speeds down at the bottom of the track were equal to and better than most of the men in a couple of days of training. She could feature well. We've got experience and newcomers as well. Maria Maslu of Romania, I'm very excited to see if she can carry some of her training form through into the race and put herself way up into the top half dozen.
Yeah, there's still a lot of racing to go in this competition, and like you said, Lynette has been really fast in training, huge speeds down the bottom of the track and really picking up a lot of places in the last section.
Well, there's the Austrian men, Matthias Kuchenberger in the left-hand side and Raphael Meyer in the middle. Enjoying watching the action here. Lots of friends and families up at the top. Great viewing place there. That's where you get all the sunshine. Bit of bratwurst, a little bit of glühwein. Can't argue with that. There's Elizabeth Vache. Currently lies in fourth spot. Waiting to go back up on the truck. Making sure you keep warm as well. Down the bottom of the track there, Ben, when you're doing 80+ miles an hour in minus whatever degrees temperature it is, you know, warm in your Lycra suit. Do you really feel the cold badly here?
No, you don't. You very, very rarely feel the cold when you're sliding. The only time I think I've ever really felt the cold is when it drops beneath about minus, I want to say minus 20. And you're sliding and you're coming out of Gundersachs on this track and you're doing 130 something kilometers an hour and it's minus 20, and then you're like, oh, it's a little bit chilly here.
A little bit chilly. Beautiful scenery everywhere you look. The funicular railway leading up to a hotel perched high on the mountains, way above the tree line there, looking down over this beautiful Engadine Valley in Switzerland. Welcome back to St. Moritz in Switzerland. First 10 of our 23 sliders in the first heat have gone down in this Women's Skeleton World Cup race. Martin Haven, Ben Samuel watching the action as one of the stars of training. Lynette Prediger of Canada gets ready to take on this track that seems to have been so good to her.
A doctor by day in Calgary and a skeleton slider by night.
5:52 getaway. It was her speeds at the bottom of the track, Ben, that were the real revelation rather than at the top.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Really high speeds at the bottom of the track, but that comes from getting everything at the top right. You really have to get the top right, the middle right, and if you get all of that right, then you're going to be fast at the bottom, and that's where you're going to pick up all the spots.
If you hear those little squitchy, scratchy noises, that's her steering and adjusting her line. And so far, from corner one, nothing.
And if she's on her game today, you're going to start seeing her picking up places in time from now on.
Horseshoe, you heard her chin scraping the ice. 98.1 kilometers an hour. No one quicker, bar the race leader.
Nice and smooth so far.
11th at the start. She's up to 7th. Is she going to run out of track? 1,600 meters of ice here. 133s, 135 kilometers an hour. She's going to vault up the order from here. 5th place, she could be in the top 3 at the line. 5th at the line, 2 tenths back. 1:10.61 slide for her. That is impressive. 2100s covers the top 5. Olympic champion Lizzie Arnold in 6, 4 tenths from the leader.
Really impressive sliding from Lynette there. Really good speeds.
Her visor's come loose. Is that from bouncing her chin off? It's broken. The visor's broken, so she's going to have to get that fixed before the second heat. But wow, below the Chrysler again. That's another dollar in the kitty. Below the Horseshoe.
Horseshoe here gets, I think she touches on the exit of Horseshoe a little bit. And she's broken.
Visor on something. Well, next up is Annie O'Shea of the USA. Visor double taped all the way around to make sure that there's no leaks there. 5:27, good strong getaway from her. Puts her in front of our race leader, Janine Falk of Austria.
5:27.
Nice line down the middle of the track. Just looking over to the right a little bit to get it early into
Hello,
wall, but
Lynette.
did a little bit too
Lynette,
much
your
and
time,
had to look to the left.
Little hip shuffle, she's tied for the lead now.
61.
A little bit sideways there between Wall and Sunny.
And she approaching the Sunny corner, entering Sunny in 29:08. And she started to
Still hearing those tiny little toe taps, the little scratchy, scratchy noises.
Oh, she's hit the roof.
Hard! And that is a big plant on the exit as well. And that will be very painful.
That's a disaster for her sliding. It's going to cost her a lot of time down here.
Keeps her form well despite probably her head pounding now. Only 20 of our 23 sliders will go through into the second heat, and that might actually cost her a second run here. She was sounding good up to Horseshoe, then hit the woodwork high and hard.
And this is the danger of Horseshoe. It's really a balancing act. You can hit the roof, and you want to be high, you want to be close to the roof to get that acceleration as you come out of the curve, but when you get it wrong and you hit the roof, things can go nasty really quickly, and I hope she's okay.
Well,
she's hit the roof here, and it's just forced her straight down, and then she's going to... Oh, she's lucky not to hit the roof again.
Yeah, might actually have clipped it with her ankle, but that's a big hit.
It really is, and there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do here is breathe out, relax, and hope that what happens next isn't going to be too painful.
Wow. Just brushed the woodwork.
Yeah, nasty sort of landing on the saddle on her sled. And
well, I know that Kirsten Simkowiak of Germany can relate to that. She had a big plant there 3 or 4 years back. Savannah Grable of the USA now. Second of our US sliders in this little bunch.
Oh, she's hit the wall. Correcting, trying to stay off the walls.
Another World Cup rookie, so many in the field this year, 26-year-old.
It's actually really difficult at the top of the track to control the sled. Because you're going so slow, you don't have a whole lot of control. And it's a really sort of delicate process, especially once you start hitting the walls. It's really hard to stop hitting walls.
Savannah looking a little more composed down into Horseshoe. Much more even parabola and gets a good exit. So let's see if she can build the speed here. 96.8. Quicker than Anja Huber of Germany, the former world champion. Still in 13th place, but picks up a place ahead of Annie O'Shea, her teammate.
Nice line through the bottom of the track, through the right-hand corners.
132.2. Could this put her in the top 10? Yes, it does. 10th spot ahead of race winner Maria Oliver. Well, all that wriggling and shuffling on the sled down the first 2 straightaways certainly robbed you a bit of pace. Otherwise, that might have been a top half-dozen slide.
Yeah, on the television, it doesn't look like too bad of a hit. It doesn't hurt at all, but it really costs you a lot of time when you hit at the top of the track. Through Nash Dixon. Nash Dixon is what's going to set you up for Horseshoe. It's important to be smooth and just let the sled run as it comes into Horseshoe. Taking the middle, late line, trying to get that height.
Well, plenty to think about and things to tidy up for race 2. The pink helmet and pink sled denote Elena Nikitina of Russia.
And watch this start.
Yeah. 5:13 is the new start record from Marina Giordoni. Will she be quicker? 5:18. Well, this again, with her abilities, could well put her into medal contention.
Yeah, very fast at the start.
Hello, Savannah.
Olympic bronze medalist.
5:42, 1:11:55.
Doesn't speak a great deal of English, enough to come to me and correct me on pronunciation of her name, though. It's not Nikitina, it's Nikitina. That's what we like. Second fastest start, 4th place. Into Sunny.
Early line into Horseshoe.
Oh, working very hard to avoid the wall on the exit, and that's cost her a quarter of a second.
Around Devil's Dyke and coming into Nameless.
Confirmation of the loss of time in Horseshoe is so instantaneous. Top speed at the bottom, 135.1 from Lynette Prediger, 133.7 from Janine Flock, 129, 6 kilometres an hour off the pace. That's not all Horseshoe.
Yeah, and hitting a few walls at the bottom of the track. Hitting as she came out of Gunter Sachs, and again when she came out of Martineau.
Tied to the 100th with Savannah Grable of the USA, so we have a tie for 10th place, a tie for 8th place just in front of them. Horseshoe is such a pivotal corner on this track, isn't it, Ben?
It really is. It's in the middle of the track, and you really want to get some height, not too much height, and you want that clean exit, which is going to push you through the next corners. And the next corners are coming at you pretty quickly on this track. You're into, she's just sliding sideways there into Telephone, and that's just costing her time.
Jane Channel of Canada, another of our Canadian World Cup rookies. Program decimated as Sport Canada funding was withdrawn by the Own the Podium program. However, the talent that had been developed over the previous 8 or 10 years has now come bubbling to the surface.
It has. They've had a lot of people retire, and they've had this group of athletes below that level who has a chance to prove themselves on the World Cup.
And of course, although they don't have the funding now, through their development program, they've had the funding, they've had the Ice House in Calgary, they've had the Olympic medalists, they've had the World Championship medalists, and the Olympic champions with them to help them train.
Yeah, Calgary's a fantastic place for them to be based and train. They have all the facilities there that they need. Jane just struggling here a bit at the top of the track, just doing a bit of work on the straights, and we saw her hit her branch on the track.
That's something you don't get on any other track. Bits falling off trees overhead. This is quite a nice looking run. Second fastest at the start, but slipping down to 12th place.
Yeah, nice line out of Horseshoe. It's looking smooth and comfortable on the sled now.
So let's see what she can produce down the bottom. 33s. 131.8. Well, she's up to 10th place. Are we going to have a three-way tie? No, she takes 10th away from Savannah Grable and Yelena Nikitina. Well, if she can hang on to that spot, I think she'll be very happy indeed. But again, things that she can tidy up in the second heat, Ben Sanford.
Yeah, a lot of things that she can clean up. The top of the track wasn't that great for her. You see her coming down the track here, hitting this branch. She knows she's going to hit it. She pulls her head up a little bit so it doesn't hit her chin. And that's frustrating for her. Like, she'll know that it hasn't cost her a lot of time, but in the back of your mind, you think that it has a little bit.
Overall, maybe one of her 8/10ths was from that branch. Next up, Joske Lecant of the Netherlands. 13th in our World Cup standings at the moment. She had a really strong week last week. Little delay on the track as they clear up that bit of debris, perhaps. 1 minute track hold. So that's not really what she wants, but of course what she doesn't want is to be running over bits of branch in the track either. It was unavoidable with Jane Channel. It wasn't spotted before her run, but now it has been. Little moment's pause. Janine Flock of Austria having a standout first slide to lead from Tina Herman and Laura Deas. Elizabeth Varchi and Lynette Prediger within the top 10. Joske Lecant in the Netherlands, little extra minute there waiting at the top for the track to be cleared of debris from the trees above. Aussie coach Brian Voigt holding the sled for her. Ben Sanford, it's hard to underestimate what a good result does, especially when we're in this kind of race program. When you have one big result, you go into the next weekend feeling like you're barely touching the ground.
Absolutely, and last week was a breakout result for Joske. Easily her best result in the World Cup, 7th place, and coming here this week, she's going to feel confident. You know that you can be in the top 10 now, and that's a huge thing.
5:42, her getaway is always a little bit of a hindrance, but on a short track like Koenigsee, she managed to drive her way into contention. On a long track here, she might have a chance to do so as well.
Yeah, she has a brand new sled, and she really seems to be gelling with this sled. She only used it for 2 days in training last week in Koenigsee, and it improved her times by about 5/10, 6/10 of a second.
Through there, Sonny, as a helmet touched the ice. That's the first sound we've heard since her name was called at the start.
And listen to her go through horseshoe here.
Nevertheless, she's still 4900s back. It's a nice looking drive, but the speed doesn't seem to be there. So has she gone too aggressive with the runners, used too sharp a contact patch?
Yeah, that could happen on this track. She didn't have the best exit of horseshoe, and she hasn't been steering horseshoe that well this week, and just oversteering a little bit, not letting it flow enough.
131.5. 14th place, picks up a little to 12th, 11th at the line.
Still a decent result from Joska.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, she's got to build on that in the second heat. And you can make an adjustment to the runner to how much rock you have, how big or small your contact patch is, but you have to use the same actual runner on your sled, right?
Yeah, you have to use the same runners, but you can, like you said, adjust the runners for the second heat. Loading onto the sled and settling in quickly and getting ready for that first kink. Out of horseshoe here, just touching before she goes into telephone, and that's going to cost her some time.
11th place for Joska LeConte. Our 17th starter of 23 is Karina Meyer of Austria. We've seen a really good run from her more experienced teammate Janine Flock to lead the first heat. And if you thought Janine Flock's smile was big most times, if she ends up winning this race, oh my goodness. Now her young rookie teammate Karina Meyer, 5:40, 900 slower than her teammate.
Karina looking nice and relaxed at the top of the track, keeping the sled in the middle of the track, just bringing it over gently for wall, corner.
World Cup rookie this season, hasn't had a top 10 finish yet. This will be a great place to do it as we head to Eagles in Austria in a couple of weeks' time, her home track.
And sliding well at the moment. Nice line from Sunny through Nash Dixon, setting up for horseshoe. A little bit of a skid there coming out of horseshoe, but pretty decent line.
Decent speed as well, 97 kilometers an hour.
So important to be smooth through the bottom of the track, just flow with these right-hand corners.
Well, she stopped losing time. She was 5700s back into horseshoe, still 5700s back. 132, good speed, better than we've seen from the last dozen sliders. And into 8th place.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Martin Rebel, the coach there, he's happy.
Already looks like the cat who's got the cream, and we're still in the first heat.
Nice run by Karina there.
Well, that's the aerodynamic form that is beaten into you as a kid at Eagles, where it overrides every other priority. That's what kept her speeds high at the bottom.
Yeah, nice line through horseshoe. A little bit of a skid on the exit, but it hasn't cost her too much. Gets into telephone without hitting that left-hand wall. So important to be smooth and
another big
avoid
smile
the
from
walls.
her. Best performance we've seen from her this season. Svetlana Vassilieva back in the World Cup lineup for the Russians. Vassilieva DQ'd in Calgary. She dropped her coat at the start, realized she didn't have the race vest with her number on, which you must have or you'll be disqualified. We then had the drama of her running back through the glass wall changing room, getting it on and running back to try and start the race. She missed the red light by a couple of seconds. Really heartbreaking high drama for her. Look at that, 5:28, that's a very strong start.
She had a disappointing week last week in Koenigsee and been training quite well in St. Moritz this week.
9th in Altenburg, and I'm sure she had high hopes of another strong finish in Koenigsee. Didn't come about. Just a whisker off the lead at the moment. Wow, that's a big whisker now.
line into Horseshoe. Good height in Horseshoe.
Good exit too. Nice and clean through telephone. Shamrock.
Around Devil's Dyke and into Nameless. Now the right-hand corner start. It's one after another.
Decent speed. Let's see what she's got at the bottom. 132s, 33s would be nice. Oh dear. Well, Ben, she hasn't hit anything since before Nash and Dixon, so where has that speed gone to?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. There was a smooth run, and she's just lost time the further on down the track she's gone.
And again, that points to the runners not being right for the conditions. Maybe she was smooth because she was cutting too much ice, had too much grip.
A lot of height here in Horseshoe, close to the roof, using her foot there to turn the sled and get it out and early into telephone corner.
Well, so Elana Vasilieva not looking ecstatic with that one, and understandably so. 17th out of 18 sleds so far. Next up, Lauda Prediger of Latvia. Trains, of course, with the Ducos brothers. Martins Ducos winning the men's race earlier this afternoon. 21-year-old. First ever skeleton race she competed in. Flipped the sled at the start and it went down the track as she lay on her face in the ice. A little better getaway this time. Decent momentum as well.
See her eyes just looking towards where she wants to take the sled.
Well, start record is 5:13. She starts 5:31, but that's the same as Janine Flock of Austria, who leads the competition. So here your start doesn't hinder you quite as much as anywhere else.
It's the longest track in the world, so if you aren't fast in the start, you can actually gain time back up at the bottom of the track. Nice line through Horseshoe and a little bit long on telephone, but she gets it off and into Shamrock okay.
96.1, middling speed. The leaders were up to 97s there. And 133, 134 required at the bottom to really pick up some places. 130.3. Big steer between Martineau and Portago. 13th at the line. Well, she's definitely going to make the second heat. Jane Channel of Canada, we're hearing, will go at the end of the run. I'm assuming at the end of the run, have a rerun. Now, in most tracks, Ben, the ice would be worse and the chances of you improving would be very slender. Here, the track should be faster, so she'll get at least a clean attempt.
Yeah, the track does speed up here during the day. Lauda coming out of Horseshoe. Nice line into telephone.
Good form, just getting that knee steer there to tidy the line up. Yep, still slippery. Little smile from her. Next up is Takako Omukai of Japan, our 20th starter. Go, go, go! 29-year-old from Nagano with a Bromley sled. Nikki Grunberger helping coach the Japanese girls. Well, now, she will be in the race of rights because Jane Channel's first time will be eradicated now that she's opted to take a second start.
Such long straights at the top of this track. So much time until you get into the first major corner. Into the snake corners, just rolling with them.
Classic bit of bobsleigh track music coming on there. The 80s hasn't died as far as track music libraries are concerned. She's really quiet, isn't she?
She is quiet. Long on telephone, but gets into Shamrock okay.
96.9, not bad speed.
Now the speeds start to really pick up on the track. You go from about 100 kilometers here to 130 in about 300 meters.
Oh, and she's knocking all that speed off in the ice. The Bromley sled makes a very different whistle down the track. 129.2. Could have been so much better without those two big hits in the fast corners. 13th place, though. That guarantees she's made the race. tied to the 100th with Prediger. So how many ties have we got at the moment? We've got a tie for 9th, Sophia Griebel and Rose McGrandle. We've got a tie for 13th, Prediger and Omukai. A tie behind them for 15th, Savannah Griebel and Yelena Nikitina. So 3 ties already.
Touching the wall there between 2 of the right-hand corners, and you're going fast here, and she goes straight into the wall here, and that's... Oh, the sled hits not her shoulder. That's lucky for her. It hurts when you hit your shoulders.
Boxing kangaroo, the fighting Aussies, Jacqueline Narracott of Australia. Missed out on last week's race in Koenigsegg. She came here to the Europa Cup race to get a little bit more experience in St. Moritz. We saw a standout performance from her teammate John Farrow to get into the first heat. See if she can produce the same.
Just using her toe before the kink, the first kink, to adjust the sled and get the line she wants. Oh, hitting in the straight and skidding now. She's going to hit again. And it's so hard to recover from that sort of hit.
The walls then turn into magnets, don't they? And they keep dragging the sled back in as you bounce your way down.
Late into the snake curves. Those hits at the top of the track are going to cost you a lot of time in this part of the track.
And that removes your zen-like calm because you're cursing yourself all the way down here silently.
Bit of a touch out of horseshoe there, dropping off telephone.
21st place at the moment, so the slowest of our runs. But Jane Channel's time has still not been removed from the start order or the finishing order. So when it is, then she will move up 1 spot. 20th place, she's pushing Annie O'Shea out of the race at the moment. If she doesn't hit the wall there, 1:31.9. Not great speed at the bottom, but enough in the heat. Into the second heat at the moment. But Ben, how frustrating is it when you know you've got still a minute of sliding to go and you're pinballing along that wall?
I can't even explain to you how frustrating the top of the track can be when it's going wrong. It's so difficult to fix it as soon as you start hitting the walls because you don't know, because of the natural walls, you don't know if the sled's going to stick to the wall or like that sticking to the wall a little bit, or it's going to bounce to the other side.
She's doing everything she can, looking straight ahead, just trying to ride out those little waves. John Velicu of Romania there, helping with the sled. So 21 sleds down, 2 left to go in the first heat, plus, I believe, Jane Channel of Canada having a second run. So what about Eiko Nakayama? She was all smiles again. This St. Moritz track really has a mystical, magical effect on everybody who comes here.
The only natural track in the world, and it's such a unique track to slide on. It's so different, it's so smooth compared to the other tracks in the world.
It'll overcook the load there, almost overshot the sled.
Keeping the sled in the middle of the track, just trying to pull it over and get early into the wall corner.
1:12.15.
This will be one of the tracks that she misses most, I'm sure, when she eventually does succumb to retirement.
I don't think Eiko's ever going to retire. He's just going to stay on the circuit.
Well, listen, how long's Gregor Staley been retired? And as a forerunner this morning, he was comfortably setting top 10 times. And he's out of training.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
95.9, good speeds.
Eiko's going to need to be really good through the bottom part of the track. Let the sled run, let it fly.
20th place at the moment. She knows what she needs to be doing. Will it happen for her?
Nice line at Tomatono.
1:32.1, that's very good speed from Eiko Nakayama. 20th place, 19th, 18th of the line, 18th ahead of Marina Giardoni, the fastest starter. No wonder Coach Mickey Grunberger is looking relatively happy with that. She guarantees herself a second heat, I think. And that means that Jacqueline Narracott of Australia and Anne O'Shea of the USA are out at the moment. We still have 1 slider to come.
Yeah, just loading a little bit too much over to the right.
So That little loss of momentum, last 2 or 3 steps that she ran, probably squandered there. Now our last regular starter is Maria Mazlu of Romania. Always smiley, always quietly spoken. And if she can get anywhere close to her training times, then she could really have her biggest day. I saw in the background Jane Channell with her coat and a helmet on, ready to go again. So look at that, 5:25 getaway, 6th fastest in the field. When she gets it all hooked up, she's going to be very quick.
Maria really likes sliding here in St. Moritz. She won the Europa Cup here last season. She's come here this week and she's been fast in training.
Looking,
she's a little bit nervous today.
Yeah, because she knows that there's speed to be found and she's got to have the confidence to get it.
Yeah. One of the things about her sliding here in St. Moritz is she doesn't always have the best line, but she lets the sled run. She allows the sled to do the work, and she stays relaxed on the sled, even though she's not in the best position all the time.
96.7, that's decent speed. 13th place at the moment. Listen how quiet it is. Again, you get that jet fighter whistle as she comes by. Speed's 131, not great. 12th position, is she going to end up in the top 10? Oh, 12th place, which will become 11th because she's behind Jane Channell, whose time will be removed immediately that she starts her second run, but top 12. She won't be over disappointed with that, I don't think.
No, that's a really good first run from Maria. Nice and solid, like that'll get rid of the nerves for the second heat and then she can improve second time round.
Well, she is now 11th place as Jane Channell's time has been removed. Good start from Maria Mazlu, top 6 start. She turns it into a top 11 run.
Yeah, been on the World Cup for a while now and really coming into her own here in St. Moritz.
So, because she ran over a branch in the track, Jane Channell gets another go. Now, Ben, this can be a bit of a poison chalice. You won't hit the debris, but you've already taken one big start out of those quads. Is she going to have another big one?
Yeah, you're rolling the dice a little bit here.
First start, 5:15. Good load. She's determined that she could do better. 5:14.
Jane's such a good athlete, so fast at the start.
And look, she's getting a good straight run down and no sticks in the way.
Yeah, nice top section of the track there.
Well, so far it's paying off.
Flowing through the snake corners and lining it up for Sunny here.
1800s up.
It's a good run so far.
Well, this could look like an inspired choice for Jane Channell.
Not a lot of height in horseshoe, but she gets it out into telephone okay.
What's the speed like? 95.8, exactly the same as in her first run. She had 131.8 at the bottom.
Flowing through the right-hand corners. What's her speed going to be here?
Got to stay away from the walls. 131.7, just a whisker slower than her first run. 111.24 at the line last time. 110.78, half a second quicker. And that was worth doing. That moves her up from what was 11th to 6th position. It was worth the effort again.
Yep, she took the gamble and it came out to her advantage. There was no stick in the track and she also avoided hitting into the walls at the top of the track. Better run from her.
Long way left there between Martineau and Portago. Just the tiniest brush with the wall. But that was well worth the effort. That was a good call by her and the coach. So smile from Jane Channell. And a big smile from Janine Flock of Austria. There'll be a lot of people crossing fingers. Very popular slider, has never won a World Cup race, but she leads after the first of our 2 heats. 500s cover the top 3, 1300s the top 4, top 5 covered by 2100ths of a second. This women's race is still wide open, but Janine Flock with the first heat advantage. confirmation of those gaps. Down to Lynette Prediger, realistically, could challenge for the lead. I don't know, maybe Jane Channel, maybe Lizzie Arnold can be in the medals as well. You'd have to say Anja Huber-Selbach probably just too far away. Several ties down the order for 10th, for 14th, for 17th position. And the top 20 in our first heat will go through into the second run. And that means that Svetlana Vassilieva of Russia, Jacqueline Narakot of Australia, and Anne O'Shea of the USA, who had a horrible horseshoe, will be on the sidelines. We'll go 20 down to 1 in the second heat to try and decide the medals here for the women's race. Join us just after half an hour from now. Ben Sanford, me, Martin Hamer, will be back with the deciding runs here in St. Moritz.